This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Heiler.
Chapter 20, Saidin, and her symbol is the dragon fang. Of course.
And I noticed, what was it, 2 chapters ago we had the Flame of Tarbalin? So they sort of bookend
the horn. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but always interesting to see the flame and
the flame for Egwene and the fang for Rand.
Mm-hmm.
Rand kept them moving through the night, allowing only a brief stop at dawn to rest the horses and to allow Loial to rest. With the Horn of Valir in its gold and silver chest occupying his saddle, the Ogier walked or trotted ahead of his big horse, never complaining, never slowing them. Sometime during the night, they had crossed the border of Cairhienin.
This is where Rand keeps saying, like, oh, I'll stop so Loial can rest. And it's like, Loial doesn't need the rest.
Probably not. The horses probably need more rest.
Definitely.
I want to see it again, Celine said as they halted. No, Rand said, climbing down from Red's back. Loial, no. The Ogier looked from Rand to Celine, his ears twitching doubtfully, but he took his hands away. I want to see the horn, Celine demanded. I don't know what's going on here.
I'm like, okay, Veruca Salt, I want it now.
Rand was sure she was no older than he, but at the moment, she suddenly seemed as old as and as cold as the mountains, and more regal than Queen Morgase at her haughtiest, and she very well may be older than the mountains.
3,000 years? Well,
I mean, with the breaking.
She's certainly older than Dragon Mount.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think a
older.
lot of these mountains were formed during the breaking, so she's definitely older than that.
I think we should keep the dagger shielded, Rand said. For all I know, looking at it may be as bad as touching it.
And she doesn't want anything to do with the dagger. That's Shadar Logoth evil. That's just like, get rid of it. What? Why are you even bothering keeping that?
The dagger. All you seem to care about is that dagger. I told you to be rid of it. The Horn of Valir, Rand.
And she has absolutely no empathy for the fact that he said, I need that dagger to save my friend's life. She's like, I don't care. Just get rid of it. Like,
yeah.
She doesn't spend a second being like, oh, I guess we could like sacrifice for your friend or whatever. It's like, she's not a considerate person.
It's strange. I don't know why she's so obsessed with the horn. She wants him to blow it?
I think so.
So that he's linked to it?
And she's just always trying to push him on to the next step. You know, you don't have to steal it, just go look at it.
Yeah, it's been like hours. Can she like...
You don't have to blow it, you just want to pull it out. You know, and she's just always trying to get him to do like the next thing.
Just take a look at it.
Yeah, just look at it. Just
Come
look
on.
at it. Just touch it, you know? And like, we know that a lot of the characters, like Ingtar, the glory pulls to him even. And like, there's something about the horn that's very tempting. And I think Lanfear is just trying to tempt Rand with the horn.
I think you're probably right.
And I think she's tempted, honestly. I mean, I think it's pulling her as much as it is anything else.
Yeah, we know she's driven by glory.
And so he's resisting, and then all of a sudden, she took his hands as she said it. Her touch made his skin tingle and his mouth go dry. And then all of a sudden, he's coming up with reasons to do what she says.
He could close the dagger up again as soon as the horn was out of the chest. So this is totally compulsion light.
Because as soon as he gets stubborn, she holds his hands, his skin goes all tingly, and then he does exactly what she wants. And he says he wishes he knew more of the prophecies of the dragon. He definitely spends a lot of time reading the prophecies.
And he notes that nothing he's ever heard of associates the dragon with the horn.
And that actually seems to be true. I think we hear Moraine say something like that the horn has to be found before the last battle, but nothing in the prophecies link the horn directly to the dragon.
Yeah, they don't. And, I mean, we know, spoilers, that Rand never really... This is the closest he ever gets to it.
But we also know from Hawkwing that the heroes of the horn have to serve the dragon.
Yeah.
And beneath the dragon banner.
Beneath the dragon banner.
Yeah.
Aes Sedai trying to make me do what they want. Selene was still gazing intently into his eyes, her face so young and beautiful that he wanted to kiss her despite what he was thinking. He had never seen an Aes Sedai act the way she did, and she looked young, not ageless.
Because here he's like, a girl my age couldn't be Aes Sedai. Well, when did she become his age? Wasn't she Nynaeve's age or older?
Yeah.
Yeah. Notice that her apparent age seems to be fluctuating based on how much she wants Rand to do what she wants.
That keeps changing. And we pointed out in the last couple of chapters that every time Rand seems resistant, she seems to be more young and more beautiful, and her clothes fit a little more snugly.
And she touches him, and yeah.
It's in my head right now that, maybe her clothes don't even fit more snugly. He just thinks they do.
That's entirely possible.
You know what I'm saying?
That she's just amping it up.
Yeah, that she could be wearing a potato sack, and what she's doing to his mind, it would be the sexiest potato sack ever worn.
She could do anything from actually alter it to make it more comfortable for herself, because it would take her just a little bit of power. She could make it look that way with a mask of mirrors, or she could just be like, and because we know she's got a mask of mirrors going on to make her look young, so why not alter it to make the shirt look like it fits better?
Yeah.
Or it could just be the
compulsion. Say how much is in his mind and how much is what she's doing to herself, but it's probably a combination of both. Why not?
The best mask of mirrors and compulsion both work with something that's close to reality.
Yeah.
Right? They often say it's easiest to change your appearance just a little bit, just look a little younger, make the shirt fit a little better. And compulsion works best when it's like, oh, you're already attractive. Make yourself a little more attractive.
Yeah, she's supposed to be one of the most powerful channelers ever, especially for a woman. She's a lot more powerful than many male channelers. Celine, Rand says softly, are you an Aes Sedai? Aes Sedai, she almost spat, flinging his hands away. Aes Sedai, always you hurl that at me. She took a deep breath and smoothed her dress, as if gathering herself. I am what and who I am, and I am no Aes Sedai. I thought this was kind of interesting because she says, always you hurl that at me, and they met yesterday.
I mean, he's said that a few times to her, like, are you sure you're not Aes Sedai? And she has some real disdain for the Aes Sedai.
Yeah. It also makes me wonder, when I see some of this, how much she may be accidentally continuing conversations from 3,000 years ago. Because she very much sees Rand as LTT.
Yeah, she even calls him Lewis Theron.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it totally could be an argument where Lewis Theron was like, you're an Aes Sedai, stop, supporting the Dark One.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, no.
You're supposed to be serving, not yourself.
Right. And so she's giving him the silent treatment for a while after he said Aes Sedai.
She barely spoke to Rand, though, unless he spoke first.
And so they come up on a village. And Rand seems excited to sleep in a bed again.
Yeah. That I will enjoy, Lord Rand, Hurin laughed. Loial nodded in agreement. A village inn, Celine sniffed. Dirty, no doubt, and full of unwashed men swilling ale. Why can't we sleep under the stars again? I find I enjoy sleeping under the stars. You would not enjoy it if Fane caught up with us while we slept, Rand said. Him and those Trollocs. He's coming after me, Celine. After the horn, too. But it is me he can find. Why do you think I've kept such a close watch these past nights?
I was wondering, why does she like to sleep out under the stars?
I don't know, but when they get to the inn in a while here, she quickly leaves. She really doesn't like being around people.
Oh, I think it's the people. Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know why.
Well, she's not very good at covering. She's claiming to be Cairhien, and they're about to come up to Cairhien.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's a good point.
She's not Cairhien, and it's going to be hard for her to use her cover story for very long.
Yeah, my first thought was it's going to be a lot harder to seduce Rand if they're in separate bedrooms.
It's nice to have him alone. And I guess that may have been a big part of, why she put him through the portal stone, was to get him alone.
Probably.
And away from people. And she doesn't want to have anything to do with a dirty inn.
She tries to use the excuse that how could they carry the horn into this lowly inn? And Rand quickly comes up with a solution.
Cover it with a blanket?
Yeah. Unroll your blanket, Loial, and throw it over the chest. Keep it covered. Loial complied, and Rand nodded. My lady's chest of clothes, Rand said with a grin and a bow. Celine met his sally with silence and an unreadable look. After a moment, they started on again.
I liked your little hand gesture when you said...
Yeah. You guys can't see that, but I did the gesture that I see Rand is doing.
It was like a waiter with a tray full of glasses. Like, here's your...
My lady's chest of clothes.
My lady's chest of clothes.
And then immediately I have this, right after that I have this highlighted too. Almost immediately, off to Rand's left, a glitter from the setting sun reflected from something on the ground. Something large. Something very large. By the light it threw up. Curious, he turned his horse that way. My lord, Hurin said. The village?
It's brighter than sunlight on water. What can it be?
And Rand is sucked into this... He falls into a trance when he gets near the Choedan Kal.
Yeah, and this is the male Choedan Kal.
Yeah, so it's like speaking to him.
Mm-hmm. And so if you recall the Choedan Kal, there's the Saidin, which are the two statues. The big one here out in Cairhienin.
Yeah.
And that's the male one. And then there is the large one in Tremalking, which is the island.
Wait,
that's the female one.
Is the Choedan Kal, the Saidin, like the giant statues?
Yes.
And then the access keys are the access keys.
And those are Terangrial.
Gotcha.
And so you can have multiple access keys to the big statues.
I see.
So you can have multiple Terangrial to access the Saidin that are the Choedan Kal.
But they come up here to this huge excavation site where Ryotin, the current king of Cairhienin, not for long, wants to dig this thing up and, have it be a testament to his glory that he dug it out of the ground and dragged it to the city.
Only until he gets in the same room with Tom.
Yeah. Out of the clay at the bottom of the pit slanted a gigantic stone hand holding a crystal sphere, and it was this that shone with the last sunlight. Rand gaped at the size of it. At least 20 paces through, he thinks.
Yeah, this thing is just massive, and it doesn't seem very safe to access directly.
No, well, especially for Rand. Unsummoned, the void formed, whole and complete in an instant. Saidin glowing, beckoning, so it's like pulling him in. This is like a seduction of power or something that's happening to him. This is dangerous, Celine said. Come away, Rand. I believe I can find a way down there, he said absently. Saidin sang to him. The huge ball seemed to glow white with the light of the sinking sun. It seemed to him that in the depths of the crystal, light swirled and danced in time to the song of Saidin. He wonders why nobody else notices.
Because no one else is a male channeler?
He's the only he's the only male channeler. And Lanfear starts freaking out and begging him to come out of it because I think she knows that he could accidentally destroy the world.
Yeah, or them, or, she's
anything.
Legitimately
Himself,
terrified.
The world, rip the universe apart. He could just accidentally, he's like a baby with an AK-47.
He's a baby with a button on a nuke.
Yeah.
She seemed genuinely worried, perhaps even afraid. And she promises him all sorts of things. I will go to the village with you. I won't mention the horn again. Only come away. She's just doing everything she can to get him away from the statue. And he's just getting sucked deeper and deeper in.
And it says here, I thought this was kind of interesting. I don't know what this means. He released the void, and it did not go. Saidin crooned.
I mean, he's channeling, and he cannot stop channeling.
He's accessing I guess you just have to be near this thing. Because he's in my head, he's 50 yards away from it or 100 yards away from it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a huge... I don't see why you wouldn't be able to make it function from there, right?
I mean, it's certainly responding to him. I like the idea of a feedback loop that it's almost like, when you get a speaker and a microphone too close together.
Yeah.
And you get that unpleasant interference. I feel like that might be what's going on here. That you're getting the speaker, which is this big amplified Choedan Kal, and the microphone, which is Rand, too close to each other, and you get this weird resonance. And that's why you need the Terangrial to separate them.
And as soon as he sees it, he goes into the void, and maybe because he is close to Saidin and he's close to this very powerful Saidin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm nodding.
And, we have definite images of, when someone's channeling, it's very hard to shield them.
Yeah.
And I could see something similar going on here with, when Rand starts to resonate with the statue, it's going to be very hard to stop that and to shut it off and to let go of the void.
Oh, yeah. Especially with that amount of power. I mean, I think if Rand were to just pull in as much power as he could right now, Lanfear couldn't shield him. Not by herself. It's not that she would be defenseless. It's that she couldn't cut him off from the source.
Yeah, that's possibly.
I mean, he has no idea what he's doing yet. Maybe she could, but point is, with that much flow of the power, she could never cut him off. And like I was saying, he could accidentally destroy the universe.
Yeah, I don't think he would necessarily be able to control the power. Is what's if he were to try and tap into it, I'm pretty sure he would just either burn himself out or explode. Yeah, basically incinerate what's around him.
Yeah. The song filled the emptiness.
Now, he reaches down inside himself, and he pulls out...
Reached for the core of who he was, the core of what he was.
It's the Aiel battle song?
Till shade is gone, he mumbled, till water is gone, and he goes through this familiar chant.
And I was wondering, I can't think of any time where he's actually heard this whole thing. And I was hoping someone could correct me on that. Does Loial say the whole thing?
Yeah, I think Loial says it in front of him once.
Okay.
And he says, "Oh, an Aielman, what are you doing here?" And that scene. And Rand's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Till shade is gone, till water is gone. That's what you guys say, right?" Yeah. Or something like that. But I don't think that's much of an excuse, like the fact that he heard it one time in this weird context where he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man?"
Yeah, this seems to be more of like really deep-reaching inherited memory rather than like reciting something that Rand or something that Loial had said to him once.
Right. In the same way where like when Matt is stressed out, he starts screaming in the old tongue.
Mm-hmm. He's got the blood of Manetheren in him.
It's Rand's old blood.
Yeah.
Old blood also, but different.
Definitely. He's got the blood of the Aiel in him.
And then Rand comes out of it yelling on the last day.
And I notice he doesn't even remember what he was muttering and thinking. He doesn't even remember the saying. Similar to the way that like Matt sometimes doesn't even remember. He's like, "Wait, what did I say?"
Yeah.
Well, back before he gets the old memories. Once he gets the memories, he knows the old tongue inside and out.
He touched his forehead. What happened? Did I do something? Did I say something? Loial explains a little. Yeah, I was reading over that scene the other day when Matt and Birgitta walk into a bar or whatever it is, and Matt sees her and he's like, You're Birgitta. And they're talking for a minute, and she points out that they're having a conversation in the old tongue.
Yeah. What tongue are we speaking right now, Horn Sounder?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, "Ah, crap." What language speak we, Sounder of the Horn? Thank you, Aradia.
And then Celine kind of hustles them away.
I noticed the men in the pit are calling out. Like, do you think they saw something happen with the statue? They seem agitated. He mentions a few times here that the men were yelling and calling out.
I don't know, but in the next chapter, the captain, presumably the captain that was down there at the time, starts questioning him all Dice Damar like. But it may have been from his prompting, because this is the king's project and his interest is considered suspect.
I think it was that the statue reacted. I think they either like felt the power or it started to glow a little bit, or
it could very well be.
He mostly describes it as reflecting the sunlight, but I'm wondering if maybe, or the sunset, but I'm wondering if maybe some of that light reflecting off is actually a little bit of light from him sort of connecting with it and channeling. Because they definitely light up when they're being used through the Terangrial. That's the whole prophecy that the people of Tremalking, they end up killing themselves when it lights up, because it's the end of the dream.
I mean, I would think Loial and Hurin would have noticed.
Possibly, but they may have also been looking at Rand.
But yeah, they call out, and Rand says, "Let's just leave."
Mm-hmm.
Celine is also eager. Everyone's eager to leave, so they do. He turned Red towards the village, and they soon left the pit, shouting guards behind.
Yeah, they're the shouting guards again. Like, it does seem to be that maybe the people who were close to it felt something.
Maybe.
Or saw something. If you see something, say something.
As many villages did. Tremensin covered the top of a hill, but like the farms they had passed, this hill had been sculpted into terraces, with stone retaining walls. Square stone houses sat on precise plots of land, with exact gardens behind.
The Cairhienin are a very precise people.
They like their order. They were a short folk, done taller than Rand's shoulder, and few as tall as Hurin, with dark eyes and pale, narrow faces, and dressed in dark clothes, except for a few who wore slashes of color across the chest. And we know that means they're a way to wear their rank, yeah.
Yeah. And we knew back in chapter 1 when Moraine shows up in her fancy dress with all the slashes.
Right. And I think we got a count, too. She has like 6 slashes or 5 or something. And I don't remember what the top rank is or anything, but the amount of slashes denotes how high you are in the pecking order.
And she's up there because she's the niece to the king.
Right. So she's a few steps away from, well, I guess she is royalty, but she's a few steps away from the throne.
Not that many. And then, well, of course, until she became Aes Sedai.
Right.
And then she gave it all up. Because the only...
You're supposed to.
Yeah, the only Aes Sedai ruler we know about is in Camelin. And I think we get a quote from Suwon that's like...
It's been hundreds of years since that happened.
And the rulers who let it be known that they were Aes Sedai came to regret it, I think is the quote we get from Suwon.
Well, that makes sense. The inn, at the very top of the hill, was stone like every other building in the town, the plainly marked by a painted sign hanging over the wide doors, the 9 rings. Rand swung down with a smile, and tied red to one of the hitching posts out front. The 9 rings had been one of his favorite adventure stories when he was a boy. He supposed it still was.
9 rings to rule them all. Wait, no, that's not right. 9 rings for the men. You read.
9 rings for the kings of men.
There we go, thank you.
3 rings for elven kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone. 9 for mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne.
So that's a slightly different series.
It's totally a head nod, though, guys. We really think so.
It's got to be.
9 Rings. It's his favorite adventure story from when he was a boy. This is Robert Jordan being like, oh, the 9 rings of men doomed to die. And Rand is doomed to die.
And totally giving Tolkien a head nod. And
yeah.
As the founder of the genre.
Celine still seemed uneasy when he helped her dismount. Are you all right? He asked. I didn't frighten you back there, did I? Red would never fall off a cliff with me. He wondered what had really happened. You terrified me, she said in a tight voice, and I do not frighten easily. You could have killed yourself. She smoothed her dress. Ride with me, tonight, now. Bring the horn, and I will stay by your side forever. Think of it, me by your side, and the horn of Valir in your hands. And that will only be the beginning. I promise. What more could you ask for?
And he thinks she's terrified because his horse nearly fell off the edge.
Right.
But that's not at all true. She's terrified because he nearly killed them all with the Saidin.
Right. He very well, like I said before, could have not just killed them, but, destroyed the universe itself.
I think you could have killed yourself. Do you think me was the next word after that? Or like killed everybody?
Killed us all.
Killed us all, yeah.
Killed the world.
The world, yeah.
Rand shook his head. I can't, Celine. The horn. He looked around. A man looked out his window across the way, then twitched the curtains closed. Evening darkened the street, and there was no one else in sight now except Loial and Hurin. The horn is not mine. I told you that. She turned her back on him, her white cloak walling him off as effectively as bricks.
Yeah, real mature there.
She's not getting what she wants. It's not working.
Yeah, I think I just want to call her Veruca Salt from now on.
Veruca Salt?
Now. It's the spoiled girl from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a short little chapter. But it's a good one. I like it when the chapter has like a very specific point, which is Rand encountering the Saidin.
Yeah.
And it's very short and it's very poignant, but yet at this point we have no idea what the heck that thing is. We don't know he's going to use it to cleanse the source.
That's true.
We have so few references to it. It's a whole chapter dedicated to brilliant foreshadowing.
Yeah, it's hard to see it without context now that, we've read the series. We both read the series many times, but I think it's even more fun with the context.
Oh, totally.
Knowing that.
But you read this chapter the first time through and you're like, okay.
How close to oblivion the world constantly is.
Totally.
Especially in that moment.
So it's one of those early, you see, he drops these little clues towards like how is Rand going to cleanse the source? Well, we've seen Shadar Logoth, we've seen the Choedan Kal, we've seen sort of opposites attract for the Dark One evil and Shadar Logoth evil, and how those tend to attract each other, and dark friends show up and can feel the pulsing, and there's all these clues that don't really fit together until later, and I'm really interested to see how that all comes together and how well he sort of assembled that ahead of time and sprinkled these little clues throughout the entire series for us to find.
It's really amazing how much is here already,
This early in the series, yeah. I mean, we're, like I said, 2 books into a 13-book series, and it's a 14-book series. And it's all right there.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?